This film tells the story of Mavis Gary, a woman who recently got divorced and now lives alone in a small apartment with her pet dog. Mavis is a writer struggling to finish her last novel series. However, Mavis feels stuck and starts checking her Emma. One day, Mavis receives an email invitation to celebrate the birth of the first baby, sent by the wife of her ex-boyfriend, Batty. After some reflection, Mavis realizes that she still has feelings for Batty. She then asks her friend for advice, who suggests that the email should be seen as a challenge. With a firm decision, Mavis decides to return to her hometown of Mercury, where Batty and his wife live, even though the deadline for her last novel is approaching. Mavis prefers to plan how to separate Batty from his wife and win back Batty's love. She will pour this journey into the last novel she is writing. Mavis, who used to be the most popular girl in high school and known for her beauty and intelligence, feels she deserves to be with Batty and is trapped in the nostalgia of her glory days. Upon arriving in her hometown, Mavis chooses to stay in a small hotel on the outskirts of town rather than return to her parents' house. She starts executing her plan to win back Batty, pretending to handle some real estate issues. Mavis leaves a voicemail on Batty's home phone so he knows she is in the same town. Feeling bored at the hotel, Mavis decides to explore her hometown. Her car stops at a small cafe, and there she receives a call from Batty inviting her to meet tomorrow at a restaurant. Mavis has just ordered a drink when she meets a man who claims to be her high school friend. She struggles to remember his face, but since she was known as the popular girl in school, the man easily recognizes her. When Mavis sees the walking aid the man is using, she realizes that he is Matt, the crime victim who went viral in school for being beaten by a school gang, who mistook Matt for being gay. A little while later, Mavis invites Matt to step outside the cafe. Outside, Mavis explains her purpose for coming, that she intends to win Batty back from his wife. Matt looks confused and reminds Mavis that Batty is married and has a child. Matt advises Mavis to stop her plan, but she ignores the advice and leaves in a taxi. The next day, Mavis gets herself groomed to look beautiful for her meeting with Batty. Wearing bold clothes and makeup, Mavis arrives half an hour early. She orders the drinks they used to enjoy when they were dating, hoping to rekindle their memories. Shortly after, Batty arrives at the restaurant. Mavis watches him with eager eyes. After chatting and learning that Mavis is now divorced, Batty feels awkward. He goes to get the drinks they ordered. Unexpectedly, Matt, who works at the restaurant, approaches Mavis. Matt knows Mavis came to meet Batty and plans to disrupt her scheme since Batty and Matt are close friends. When Batty invites Matt to join them for a drink, Mavis glares at Matt, hoping he will leave so Batty can focus entirely on her. A while later, Batty and Mavis leave the restaurant. Batty tells Mavis that his wife, Beth, has joined a band and will be performing at the restaurant where Matt works. Batty invites Mavis to watch Beth's performance and also invites her to his home to meet his sister, Ken Dra, who is a big fan of Mavis's novels. Mavis, of course, is very enthusiastic and doesn't want to miss this opportunity. The following evening, Mavis invites Matt for a drink. However, Matt is mixing drinks in his garage and asks Mavis to come over to try his concoctions. Arriving at Matt's place, in the garage, Matt offers Mavis to try his drink collection and once again persuades her not to ruin Batty's household, which now has a small baby. Mavis still ignores Matt's advice and instead asks him to show her Batty's house. The next day, Mavis arrives at Batty's house and is warmly welcomed by Beth and Batty. Despite Beth's presence, Mavis continues to flirt with Batty, sharing stories of her past romance with Beth's husband. Later, they move to the restaurant where Beth will perform with her band. As the band members are doing a sound check, they notice Mavis's presence and immediately feel uneasy. When the performance begins, Beth sings an old song dedicated to her husband. It turns out that the song is a memory for Mavis and Batty, making Mavis feel annoyed. After the event ends, Mavis approaches Beth's band and praises them with a slightly sarcastic tone. Hearing the comment, Batty tries to change the subject and invites Beth to go home. However, Beth still wants to stay with her friends, so Mavis offers to take Batty home. Once they arrive home, Mavis tries to get closer to Batty. In his drunken state, Batty talks about how much he loves his baby. But, with her experience as the popular queen in school, Mavis manages to steal a bit of attention from the baby's father. Mavis later tells Matt that she managed to get some attention from Batty, but her plan was thwarted by the family's babysitter who interrupted her. The next day, Mavis receives a call from Batty inviting her to celebrate the naming of their first daughter. Mavis happily accepts the invitation as it will give her a bigger chance. Unexpectedly, Mavis meets her mother, who invites her back home. There, Mavis sees her childhood room filled with neatly arranged items, things she left behind long ago. During lunch together, Mavis tells her parents that she returned to town to explore the real estate business and has already met with Batty. Her parents seem worried, especially about Mavis's obsession with Batty. Mavis changes the subject by asking about her old car, which she plans to use again. Later, Mavis drives to Matt's house in her old car. She invites Matt to drink in the backyard of their old school. Mavis says that Batty would be happier with her than with Beth. Hearing this, Matt advises Mavis to move on and not ruin Batty and his wife's happiness. However, Mavis, seemingly experiencing a star syndrome, feels superior and insults Matt about his leg paralysis. This sparks an argument between them, and eventually, Mavis leaves, abandoning Matt alone. A few days later, the day of Batty's daughter's celebration arrives. As usual, Mavis prepares herself with the best care and makeup to look perfect in front of Batty. Upon arriving at the event, Mavis immediately hugs Jan, Batty's parent, who seems displeased with Mavis's presence. When she sees Batty, Mavis doesn't hesitate to hug him and invite him to talk in a quiet place. There, Mavis expresses her feelings and tells Batty to divorce his wife and be with her. Hearing this, Batty feels disgusted and thinks that Mavis has a mental problem. Batty asks Mavis to leave. Seeing all her plans fail completely, Mavis becomes more annoyed. Mavis goes to the yard, as Batty is about to give a gift to his wife. Seeing Mavis looking disheveled, Beth takes the initiative to offer her a drink. However, Beth accidentally spills the drink on Mavis's clothes. Already irritated, Mavis starts unleashing all her anger, venting her pent-up frustration. Feeling superior, Mavis begins to insult and demean Beth in front of all the guests, not paying attention to her surroundings. The surprise that Batty had prepared for his wife loses its specialness due to the incident. Mavis then learns that it was actually Beth who invited her to the event out of sympathy for her situation. With rising anger, Mavis finally leaves while cursing everyone there in her hometown. In a state of depression, Mavis goes to Matt's house and tells him what just happened. Mavis vents her anger by telling everything to Matt. In the morning, Mavis goes to the kitchen and chats with Matt's sister, Sandra. Mavis talks about the inner turmoil she's experiencing, feeling unhappy with her life, and compares it to the people in the small town who seem always happy. Fortunately, Sandra is an open-minded person and gently makes Mavis reflect. Sandra helps Mavis see that her life is actually luckier compared to the people in the small town. Finally, after feeling enlightened, Mavis decides to return to the city and continue her life as a writer. Now, Mavis is ready to move forward without looking back at her hometown, which once held her true love.